Most people think that if they do more, they'll gain more. But what if I told you that is a completely wrong approach? We don't get what we want by working harder. We get what we want by becoming someone new entirely. Hi, my loves. My name is Dheandra Nicolette, and on my channel, we chat everything spirituality, astrology, lifestyle, transformation, self-development, honestly, anything and everything I feel called to talk about. And today, my loves, I want to talk about how your mindset is literally everything. As we live in a hustle culture, there's this ingrained assumption that if we take more action and simply do more, hustle more, we'll eventually get to what we want and we'll eventually be living the lives that we want to live. So I was talking to a friend about the American dream the other day, that we still in some ways subscribe to the notion that the American dream in the traditional ways that we know it still exists. That it's all about working really hard, being super loyal to a specific company, and eventually you'll have the house, you'll have the white picket fence, you'll have the marriage, you'll have the dog, you'll have everything that makes up, again, this traditional American dream. Working hard and being loyal and sticking to your guns in any shape, way, or form is not the only thing that you need to become successful. And of course, success is defined differently by every single person. But if we're talking about success as being able to live a life where you're able to buy the things that you want, you're able to have food on the table, you have a really thriving social life, money is really not an issue. Maybe you're not a billionaire, but you have enough to do the things you want, buy the things you want, and live in a way where you're not stressed about where your next paycheck is coming from. The notion that working really hard and hustling to get to that end product is incredibly flawed. Our core identities shape our reality. Every person's identity and what they've experienced in the past, who they identify as, who they see themselves as, really impacts the way that they see reality, really impacts their perspective on the experiences that they're having. So you have two different people and they both get laid off at work. One person can take on the mindset of, oh my God, this absolutely sucks. This is proof that I was never good at my job. This is just a reminder that I'll never be able to have the career that I want. I'll never be able to climb the corporate ladder in the way that I want. And this really is just my reminder that I'm only good for X, Y, and Z. Whereas the other person who was laid off can take the mindset of, this sucks. This is not ideal. This is not what I intended to happen. However, this is a really good opportunity for me to find a job that is really aligned with some of the non-negotiables I want in my career. This is a really good opportunity for me to find a company that aligns with my values. This is a really good opportunity for me to find a remote job instead of a hybrid job or an in-office job. And so you have the same event happening to these two different people, yet one person is taking a very woe is me, this sucks, this just means negative things are coming for me approach, whereas the other person understands this sucks, notably, like they understand that this isn't ideal, they didn't plan for this. However, they're willing to take a certain perspective and look at this particular event happening as a catalyst for something better to come in their lives. And as a result, the way that we see certain things in our lives, it impacts the action that we take after. The person that's in the woe is me attitude might choose to not apply for certain jobs, might choose to not raise their standard of what they want in their career, whereas the other person sees this as an opportunity to raise their standard in their career, to ask for more, to demand that their next position, their next role be more in terms of pay and in terms of value and in terms of fulfillment than their last role was. When we shift who we are being at our core, we start to shift our perspective on our lives, and thus we start to shift the actions that we're taking. I actually posted this quote on my Instagram story yesterday, and it was from Morpheus in the movie The Matrix. If you've seen it, comment down below. But in the movie, Morpheus says, "Don't think you are. No, you are." Before we start to see the thing in our reality, before we start to see the ripple effect of whatever we want coming to fruition, we have to first believe that we are the person that is deserving of that thing, worthy of that thing, or worthy of that particular experience before it comes in. If you're sat here and you are not thinking that you're worthy of having the abundance that you want, the relationship that you want, the job that you want, the experiences that you want, how can those things ever come in? How can they ever align for you? If you're the kind of person that always believes that things never work out for you, that you always end up with the short short end of the stick, that you are always fighting and struggling in life, why would you ever experience a reality other than what you believe you deserve? However, if you're the kind of person that believes, you know what, things always work out for me, somehow a failure or a rejection or a detour, it's protection, it's covering me, it is leading me to something that's better, it's leading me to a better job, a better relationship, a better aligned opportunity. Trust and believe that is always what you are going to get. You are always going to get scenarios that are unfolding in a way that aligns to show you that it was always working out for you and it's always going to be working out for you. I think at some point we started to call this delusion. And I mean, call it whatever you want. The label literally doesn't matter. Faith, delusion. But it's all about being the kind of person that knows that whatever you want, it's simply going to happen for you. It's never a question of if, but it's simply a matter of when. It's never a question of, are you actually going to be able to experience this thing? But it's a matter of, oh, I know it's coming for me. Oh, I know I'm going to have this. Oh, I know there's a reality in which I already have this. And it's a matter of aligning myself right now, my mindset, my energy with that version of myself, because I know that I'm destined to have it. I want to talk about 3 different key mindset shifts that you need to make in your life in order to live the life that you want to live. So the first one that I want to talk about is shifting from scarcity to abundance. There's more than enough. Like, we are sold a story that only a few people get to be at the very top and have all the money in the world, when really it's simply energy. There's more of it that can be made. There's more of it that can come around, and you can have just as much as you want. We have to stop seeing things as being scarce. We have to stop seeing resources as being scarce. Scarcity simply perpetuates fear. Scarcity is what makes people settle for things that they don't want. Scarcity is what makes you think that if you don't take the slim pickings that you are being offered, that you are never going to have anything. And babes, that is not a way to live. You want to sit here and have a standard for what you want. Have a standard for your relationships. Have a standard for your career. Have a standard for your friendships. Have a standard for the family that you have around you. Have a standard for every single thing in your life. And if something does not meet that standard, you get to decide if it gets to stay. And I also want to say that within having a standard, one thing that I find incredibly important is that you have to make sure that you are living up to your own standard. So if you have a standard for the kind of people that you want around you in your life, are you living up to that standard? Because I find it incredibly hypocritical for us to have particular standards about who we want in our lives or what kind of experiences that we want to have, yet we might not be showing up in the way that meets that standard. So make sure that you are always showing up in a way that meets your standard. But at the end of the day, shift your mindset from scarcity to abundance. Understand that there's always enough to go around. Understand that what you want exists. And not only does it exist, but there is a literal reality out there where you have every single thing that you want. So you have to stop feeling like you can never have it. You have to stop feeling like it is too much to ask for. You have to stop feeling like what you want is outside of your grasp. Because if you continue to have that particular mindset, what you want is always going to be outside of your grasp. Another thing we need to do is shift from fear to faith. Faith is simply having a belief in the outcome of the situation. So this is about letting go of the fear of, what if it doesn't work out for me? What if they don't like me? What if I don't get the job? What if? Like I said, call it delusion if you will, but I feel like every single time I get rejected from something, every single time I don't end up in a relationship with someone, every single time I don't get a job, every single time I get rejected in some way, shape, or form, I am grateful. Now, I might not be grateful in the moment, okay? I will admit that. Sometimes in the moment, I'm pissed off, I'm angry, I'm upset, and that is human, that's okay. But after that, I'm grateful because I realized, okay, this simply wasn't for me. There's a reality where I get that job, where I get that relationship, where I get the thing that I so believe is right for me, and it ends up being such a bad fit that I'm just like cringing. I literally don't want it. When you start to lean into faith versus fear, instead of seeing rejections as things where you're not good enough or you don't have what it takes or it's a scarcity thing, you start to see it as protection. You start to realize that, okay, this didn't work out for a particular reason, and I'm okay with that. It just means that there's something better out there for me. And a lot of times, what we need to realize as well is that as we grow, as we're transforming, certain realities start to fall away from our path. So perhaps you are on a road where you're aligned with a certain job, a certain relationship, a certain friend group. And as you're growing and as you're expanding your mindset and as your goals are changing and shifting and you're calling in certain new realities for yourself, that particular job no longer aligns. That particular person no longer aligns. That particular group no longer aligns because you are now sitting in the reality where you're calling in more for yourself. And unfortunately, it means that some of those things that you were originally aligned with are no longer a fit for where you're going. We also need to shift our mindset from doing to being. So instead of starting off from the place of what can we do, what can we change, how can we operate in order to have what we want, we need to start looking at our mindsets first. Instead of having a specific goal or manifestation that we want and thinking about what we can do, what action we can take immediately, we need to start thinking about the mindset shifts that we need to make. How can we start to step into the mindset of the person that has that thing? What does that mean it needs to change with us? And for a lot of us, that means that the language with which we talk to ourselves needs to change. The language that we use when we talk about that particular dream, that particular manifestation needs to change. Our routines might need to change. What we are inputting into our bodies, what we're inputting into our minds needs to change. You need to audit what you are reading, what you are eating, what you are saying, who you are being around, who you are allowing into your energy and your life. The version of you that is living a specific life that you want to live, there are certain things that you're doing right now that are not aligned with that version of yourself. And there's certain things that need to come into your life that you need to start adopting. What does it mean needs to shift with your mindset before you start to shift your action? When we're approaching our manifestations, it's important to approach from a place of who are we being first and foremost before we approach with what we are doing. To create the life you want, you don't need to do more. You need to be more aligned with the version of yourself that has everything that you want. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know if you'd want me to talk more about this topic and go more in depth about how we can shift our mindset, more mindset changes that we can make, and what it looks like to truly shift into a different version of yourself. Because shifting is not necessarily difficult. However, what can be difficult for us is maintaining the energy of that new version of ourselves once we have shifted. Anyways, my loves, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening, for tuning in, for watching the video, for listening to the podcast. If you're listening to this on Manifest Daily Podcast, I appreciate you so much. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Comment down below if you feel so inclined and have anything to say. And of course, if you're listening on the podcast, feel free to give the show 5 stars, 5-star review if you feel so inclined. I will chat with y'all in my very next video. Bye, my loves.